my oldest brother is a dentist. My other older brother is a speech language pathologist, and I'm a college dropout turned entrepreneur. And I wanted to share my story with you and why I chose this path. 5 years ago, I'm 25 years old now. So when I was 20 years old, I decided I would try my hand at business and start my first business. I was really into clothing. I won Best Dressed as my senior superlative in high school. And so I thought I'd start a t-shirt brand. So I created a logo. The company was called Gozo Loco. And I put the logo on the front of the shirt, on the pocket, and then bigger on the back. And I ordered 50 t-shirts. That was the minimum number of t-shirts I could order from the print shop that I was ordering from. And I decided, you know what, let me pre-sell some of these t-shirts before they come in so that I can, get the head start and actually sell some of these things. So I called everybody on my contacts list on my phone. I even went to my mom's contacts, a lot of her friends. I'm like, oh, they'll have money, they're adults. And called everybody on her contacts list and some of the people we went to church with. And I ended up pre-selling like 30, maybe 40 of the t-shirts to just the people that I knew. And at that point, I think I was probably about break even from what I spent on the t-shirts versus what I made from selling 30 or 40 of them. And I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't know how to do marketing. I didn't have any skills on sales or e-commerce, or I just really had no direction from there. And so I kind of took it as a loss. I'm like, maybe I'm not cut out for business. This t-shirt idea semi-worked out, didn't really work out for me. And so maybe I'm just destined to work a 9-to-5 job. And so I went and walked around to a couple businesses in my area. I was living with my parents at this time in North Carolina, and I walked into an Anytime Fitness, thought it would be cool to work at a gym. And the owner of it said, sure, we'll hire you. We'll pay you $11 an hour plus commission for any memberships you sell when people come in. And I thought, okay, this is cool. I have a little bit of opportunity to make more with these commissions. And so I thought it was a cool opportunity. And I got to work at a gym, and I was pretty into fitness and that kind of thing. And so I started working there. The only problem was when people would come in to sign up or try to check out the gym, I was so scared to sell them that I would just stay in the office and I wouldn't even walk out and greet them and try to sell them. I was literally so bad at sales and just really bad with people that I wouldn't even go try to make the sale. And we had a little Ring doorbell camera at the front, one of those video cameras. And when my boss wasn't there, he would text me and he'd be like, hey, someone just came in, go sell them. And I would pretend like I didn't see them, or they would walk back out and he'd say, hey, they just walked out. Did you sell them? And I'd be like, oh, I didn't know what you're talking about, or I didn't see anybody come in, and I'd play it off like I didn't know what was going on. And I was just I had so much anxiety anytime a potential sale would come, I would get so nervous and so worried. And so anyway, I worked at that Anytime Fitness for about 3 months. And I found another job. The Anytime Fitness job wasn't full-time. I found a job that was full-time working at a JCPenney distribution center. There's about 10 or 15 distribution centers across the whole United States. So they're these big warehouse factories. And it was a full-time job, 6 days a week, and it paid $15 an hour. So it was more than what I would be making at the Anytime Fitness. And so I was like, all right, let me try this out. And I started working at this distribution center. I remember I'd had to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. because this distribution center was almost an hour drive from my parents' house where I was living. And so I'd wake up at 4 a.m, get ready by 4:30, and then I had to get to work by 5:30 or 6 a.m. And then most days I would work Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. So I was working 11 or 12-hour days, and I only got a 30-minute lunch break and 2 15-minute breaks throughout the day. And I was miserable, to be completely honest. A lot of days would be so tired that I could fall asleep standing against one of the support beams in the factory or in the warehouse as the conveyor belts were going, as these loud sirens were blaring and buzzers were going off. I could still sleep through that because I was so tired and just hated so much the job that I was doing. And I was literally just putting clothes in boxes all day as they would go around this conveyor belt. And I remember around the same time I was really into or I was interested in videography. I started watching this YouTuber who was traveling around the world, and he would take his drone and his camera and he'd film these really cinematic travel videos, and he would do videos for companies and they'd pay him to travel around the world. And I'm like, man, that's the dream. That would be so amazing to do something like that. And I was like, I'm gonna buy a camera. So my parents had given me a little bit of money for after I graduated high school, just like a small savings account, and then put in some of my own money and I bought a camera. And then I actually bought a drone soon after that. So I had a camera now, a nicer camera that I could do videography with, and a drone that I could do aerial videography with. And I started reaching out to local businesses in my area. On the side, I was still working at the JCPenney warehouse. And on the side, I would just reach out to them and say, hey, can I do a free video for your business? If you like it, you know, we can do more videos for paid. And they would take the free video. They'd let me come in and do a free video. I think they thought of it as like more of a charity case than anything. So I really was terrible at videography. I was just learning how to use my cameras and drone. And they would get the free video, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll reach out to you if you want any other video stuff. And then they would never reach out to me. And I was like, man, I really wish this videography business would work out. It wasn't going as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just going to start getting traveling gigs and start being able to travel the world and do videos for big companies, and it just wasn't like that. And I remember one day my next door neighbor to my parents, he invited me. He said, hey, my nephew's doing a race. He's a young NASCAR driver. I think he was like 15 or 16 years old, and he was racing in like the minor leagues for NASCAR. And he's like, I'd love for you to make like a cool video edit for him at his next race. I'm like, yeah, that sounds amazing. When is it? And he's like, it's this Friday at like 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to work that day. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can make it. And he's like, don't worry, it's not a problem. He's like, I can get somebody else. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'll be there. I was like, count me in. I'll be there and I'll come do the video for him. So I called up in sick that day to my JCPenney job and just told him I was sick and couldn't make it. And I went to the race, filmed an awesome edit for this young race NASCAR driver. And it was awesome. Like he paid me $300 for the video, which is way more than I would have made that day working at JCPenney. And so I took it as a win. But the next Monday when I went back to work, they called me into HR and they said, hey, Jasper, you've been missing too many days, because I had missed some other days before that too. You've been missing too many days at work. Like, we need to, if you miss another day, we're going to let you go. And I really needed that job because it was helping me like save money, and I maybe eventually was going to go to college, and I just needed to save money. I didn't have any other income source. And so I'm like, okay, no worries. Literally like a week later, I was running late one day to work, and I showed up maybe like 15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes late. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty much it, Jasper. Like, we really, like, in the next couple of weeks, you know, we're going to probably fire you. Like, we have to send it up to the higher ups first and see what they say. But like, you're probably going to get fired soon because you've missed too many days and you've showed up late too many days. And I started worrying and panicking. And before they could fire me, I went in and I quit. And this was around Christmas time. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to let them fire me. I'm going to quit before they can fire me. So I went in and quit. And right around this time, my good buddy, he said, hey, Jasper, I'm actually going to switch plans. He was going to go to another college, but he decided to go to a college that I actually got accepted into. And he's like, I'd love for you to come room with me at BYU, Idaho. So this is one of my really, really good buddies. And so I'm like, sure, okay, let's do it. Let's do college. Let's try college out. I hadn't been to college up to this point yet. Because after high school, I did a 2-year mission for my church, which was full-time, and you can't do college during that. So this is my first time going to college in January, starting the winter semester. And me and my buddy had a great time. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't go on a single date for my whole first or second semester. I had really bad acne at the time. And I just hung out with a couple of my guy friends, just really didn't have any confidence or social life. Studying wasn't the most fun. I was really bad. And I hated school. I felt like everything I was learning was so impractical, and it didn't apply to real life and what I might actually be doing in the real world. I was studying like business and marketing and like a minor in film, and I just really wasn't learning anything practical that I thought would ever help me. And so Anyway, after those first couple semesters, the summer rolled around, and one of my other good buddies pitched me on the idea of coming out and doing door-to-door sales, selling solar panels down in Florida. He's like, my cousin owns the company. He can get us really good positions. We can get really good commission structures, and you can go make a bunch of money. He's like, there's some other guys working for him that are making like $20 or $30, $40,000 a month. I'm like, holy cow, I really trusted my buddy because I'd grown up with him and gone to high school with him and stuff. And so I was like, all right, let's do it. So I drove from Idaho all the way across the country, packed up my car, and went down to Florida, to Tampa, to Pensacola first. And when we were in Pensacola, we had a manager there. We would set up appointments for him. We'd go knock doors, set up the appointment, and he'd go back same day or the next day and try to close them and sell them rooftop solar panels for their home. And he would go to these appointments that we'd set up, and he just couldn't sell them. Florida was a new market. Nobody from our company had ever been there before, and so but they didn't really know how it was going to go and how the sales would come. And this manager, who was apparently one of the best sales guys in the company, couldn't close our deals for us. So we worked for like a month or a month and a half, and we didn't make a cent because we were all commission based, and there was about 8 of us there. And they were paying for our housing, which was nice, but we weren't making any money. And I started to panic because I was like, well, how am I going to make money? I need to go back to school in the fall and pay for housing and all this stuff while I'm at school. I'm not going to be able to go back to school unless I make some money doing this summer. And even the CEO flew out because he heard we weren't selling anything and the manager couldn't sell anything. He's like, yeah, this is just a really tough market. We shouldn't have come here. Let's have you all go back to California where everything is working and everyone's selling really well, and you guys can go sell in California. And I was very skeptical. I'd worked a month or a month and a half with no pay, no money coming in. And now he's telling me to pack our bags and drive all the way to California to go sell solar and he said it'll all work out because it's working there. And so me being really naive and stupid, I was like, all right, what else can I do? I probably can't get a job for the last couple months of the summer. Like, no one's going to hire me. So this is my only option. So packed our bags again from Florida and drove all the way across country to around near Los California. And we were met there by our manager, and I was trained by some of the guys that were selling there that were doing really well, making some really good money, and ended up learning from them and started knocking doors, setting up appointments for my manager. Then eventually I worked into a closer position, and I was able to go sell the deals myself. And in about 2.5 months or 3 months of working in California before the summer was over, I made $130,000. And that was the most money I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I had worked a $11 hour job at Anytime Fitness, and then $15 an hour at JCPenney. And I just never seen that amount of money, and especially that fast. And I went back to college in the fall semester after the summer was over with all this newfound confidence. I had made all this money, and at that time I thought money equaled confidence. And so I was super confident. My acne had cleared up. I started going on dates and just having more confidence with like girls, and I would throw these parties, and we'd buy all the cereal flavors on the Walmart shelf. We'd buy all the gallons of milk from the refrigerator section, or we would buy all the Ben & Jerry's small ice creams from the entire freezer section, and we'd throw these parties. And I ended up blowing through like pretty much all of my money. The only thing that I did buy that fall semester that was actually smart was an investment property in North Carolina that was about 5 minutes away from my parents' house. Ended up buying that, which was the one smart move. This was 2021. The interest rate was super low. It was like 3%, and got a really low payment on it. We rented it out for $1,800 a month, and we were cash flowing like $400 or $500 a month on it. And so that was one good thing that I did do after that summer, selling solar panels with the money that I had made. Everything else, though, I blew on parties and stupid stuff and just overspending. I really didn't know how to budget because I, like I said, never had made any money in my entire life. And right around that time, I was in school, still doing school, but I really still didn't like it. I was just kind of there for the social pressure of like maybe my parents a little bit. My brothers were both medical professionals, and I just felt like that was the only path to take. And then in the summers I would do sales, and that was my life. And I eventually would graduate and do something and get a job for a company. But the next summer came and I had run out of money by then. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I got to go do solar again, sell solar in California. So I'd recruited a few guys, a couple of my buddies. And so now I had like a team of guys that could set up appointments for me and I could close. And I thought I was going to make a lot more money than the first summer. And when we went out, they put us in an area that had houses that were tiny, like these old houses that were like 100 years old. And they had these weird chimney things sticking out of the top. So you couldn't even put solar panels on their house. And it just wasn't doable. And then I was also putting all this time trying to train these guys that I had brought out. So it took time away from me. Excuses aside, it just didn't work out. And I barely made any money that summer. And flashback a little bit, I had started dating my now wife. And we were engaged by the time the summer came around. And so I was really stressing out and worrying because I was like, I would need to make this work. I need to make money so that now I can support two people, because we were going to be getting married at the end of the summer. And we had to figure something else out after that. And the solar wasn't working out anymore. And it just wasn't as good as the first summer that I did it. And I was stressed out, like I said, about to get married to my now wife. And I was trying to get her, I was like, hey, let's just stay after the summer and I'll just keep selling. We'll just live in California full time. And she's like, no, it was terrible for you this summer. Like, what makes you think it's going to be any better? And she's like, I would love if we could just go back to school and like we can, hunker down a little bit, figure out what we're going to do from there and just go to somewhere that we know and are familiar with. And so anyway, we both decided, I took her advice and we both decided to go back to school. We're now married, going to school, didn't have any money. We were absolutely broke. We were getting financial aid from the school. And so our schooling was paid for, which was nice. Housing was paid for. But I just really didn't know what I was going to do. I was doing online school at this point. And I decided I was going to get licensed as a loan officer, as a mortgage loan officer, and start selling home loans to people who were looking to buy homes and refinance their mortgage. And so I took the 20 hours of coursework, and then I passed the test, barely passed the test to get licensed. And I started calling up mortgage companies to try to find a job, one that would sponsor me and that I could originate mortgages and home loans for. And that took a little bit of time, but finally a company called me back and said, hey, we'll hire you as a commission-only loan officer. And I'm like, all right, I've done this. I sold solar commission only. I think I can do this. And it actually was really good at the beginning. Rates at this time, back in like 2021, 2022, were still pretty low. Everybody was buying houses. The housing market was booming. I actually went in Southeast Idaho and started knocking doors. I was also doing school part-time on the side. And I would just go knock in the evenings and I'd say, hey, have you refinanced your home loan yet? And if they hadn't, I would help them refinance their mortgage and I would get a commission on those. And it was really good. I'd go, every night and I'd set up an appointment or two and we'd close a few deals a week and it was awesome. And then shortly after that, I quit school because I'm like, I'm going to be a loan officer. This is going to be my career path. I don't need to go to school anymore. So I dropped out of college. And right after that, the interest rates started climbing and the housing market slowed down and nobody was buying houses anymore. Rates went from 3% to 4% and then 5% and then all the way up to 7%. And almost nobody was buying houses. And so my income went from quite a bit to like almost nothing within a few months. And at this time, my boss noticed that I was struggling and he's like, hey, Jasper, I know you're struggling, but we'll put you into a marketing role for our company so you can run all of our ads, you can do our social media, and we'll pay you a salary. So he really bailed me out, and I really appreciate my old boss for doing that for me and my family, because we were in a really tough spot at that time. And also right after that, we decided we wanted to buy a mobile home, and we wanted to put it on some land. We had got the people who built the mobile homes to buy the land for us. We gave them a $13,000 deposit for the land. They went and bought it cash, and then it was going to be another 6-month process before they could put the mobile home on the land and we could close on it and move in. But slowly the price of the mobile homes started climbing and they kept saying, oh, now it's going to be more money. Now it's going to be more. And so it went from, a $350,000 mobile home to over a $400,000 mobile home. We're like, we can't really afford this. Like, I'm sorry, but we need to back out of this deal. And they said, okay, but you can't get your deposit back. So we lost $13,000 to this this home builder, these mobile home manufacturers, and that really put us in a tight spot. I wasn't making much as a salaried employee for the mortgage company. I had lost $13,000 of our savings, and anyway, it was a super tough time. But the stuff I was doing for the mortgage company was starting to work out. I was running ads on Facebook and Instagram, and we were getting some days 30, 40 leads a day of people that were interested in buying homes. And I would just call all the leads. I was like, I'm going to really make sure these leads are helped. So I would call each one of them as soon as they would come in and fill in their information on our Facebook ad. And I just couldn't even keep up with all of them because we were getting so many leads. And I started doing some research, watching some YouTube videos. Like, so there's got to be a better way to manage these leads coming in than just calling all of them, and found a video tutorial about a software called Go High Level. And they said you could automate text message and email and all this stuff. And so I went to my boss and I said, hey, can we sign up for this software called Go High Level? It'll help us with our lead generation. And he's like, yeah, sure. So he gave me his card, and we paid for it on his card. And I learned how to use this software, and we set it up for when the leads came in, it would then send them an automated text message and an automated email, and it would just nurture the leads on autopilot, so I didn't have to call all of them. And when we implemented the system using the software, we 5x'd our ROI from previously when I was calling them. So it like made the ads even better. Our ROI was even better now, and it was going really well. But at this time, the rates were still climbing, and not everybody, but my boss started laying off people from the company because they couldn't afford to pay them. Underwriters and loan processors just weren't needed anymore because we weren't doing enough loans. The marketing, we were getting some loans from that, but it still wasn't enough. And just the housing market was kind of not crashing, but nobody was buying homes anymore, so it was drying up. And so he slowly started laying people off from the company, and I thought to myself, I'm probably going to be next, and so at that time I was using the software to help my company, but I'm like, what if I could help other companies with this software, and I could go sell it to other businesses and start an agency? And so slowly I started reaching out to other real estate agents in our area, and I would sell them, hey, well, this system, it'll run ads for you, and it'll automatically follow up with all these leads you're getting, and it's only $300 a month. And so I'd sell them an account in the software I was using for the company I was working at, and then I'd give them the ad templates, and then they could go run these ads on them for themselves and get all these leads. And it was really easy to sell because I could show them the results I had gotten from the mortgage company I was working at, and then they would be like, that's awesome, we would love to get leads like this. The housing market is really slow, this will really help us out. And they would sign up with me. But after 3 months, 4 months, a lot of them would come back to me and they'd say, hey, Jasper, we want to cancel our subscription with you. We're just not getting enough leads. The housing market's really slow, and we don't know really how to use this software that you gave us. And it sounded really good when you sold it to us, but we just don't have the time to learn it, and business is really slow, so we just can't afford it right now. And I was like, I need to figure out a way to get my clients to stay longer and actually pay me for a long period of time, because I could make the sales. I had the experience from doing door-to-door sales and doing mortgages. I knew I could get people signed up for my agency. I just needed to keep them and maintain relationships better with them. And so I started doing a done-for-you offer where I would run the ads for them. I would manage the software for them, so they didn't even have to touch it. So they could no longer say, oh, the software is too confusing or the system is too confusing, because I was managing it all for them. And then slowly, those clients, a lot of them would cancel too, just because the housing market got really bad. So I switched niches and started reaching out to other types of businesses. And I said, I need to find a bulletproof offer that they will never cancel me on. And that offer that I found out was websites. So selling them websites, you can charge setup fees of a couple $1,000s selling websites, and then you can also charge a monthly hosting fee of a couple $100s a month, so that it keeps their website running, and you can do minor SEO for them and make updates for them. And the website was a big part of these business owners' business, and if they canceled, they would lose access to their website. And so it was a bulletproof offer, and these clients would never cancel. These clients will stick with you forever because the website is a big chunk of their business. And most people who get a website built will keep that website on average for like 3 to 5 years is the statistic. So they almost never cancel on the website offer. And I would tie in the software with their website so it can nurture their leads automatically with the automation. And anyway, I started growing my agency around this time. My wife got pregnant, and we were going to have our daughter soon. And I just really needed this to work, and I knew I was about to be fired from the mortgage job. And so I reached out to my boss. I started making about as much in my agency as I was making doing mortgages and getting paid in salary at the mortgage company. And so I reached out to my boss and said, hey, I've got this other thing going. I really want to quit my job. And he's like, yeah, that's good, because we were probably about to fire you anyway. And I was like, oh man, I guess that's good timing then. And he was like, well, what about your wife? Do you need like insurance benefits still? Like, we can keep you on. He was really nice about it. He's like, we can just keep you on at like a really low salary so you can keep getting insurance benefits. And I'm like, no, you're totally fine. We'll figure it out. So I went full in on my agency. Around that time, I was making maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And then by the time my daughter was born, I had scaled it up to around $15,000 a month. And during the time when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, I was super stressed out because I'm like, I need to provide now for my wife and for a baby coming soon. And I gained a lot of weight at that time. I gained like 20 or 30 pounds and was really just unhealthy, wasn't working out, was very stressed out, wasn't getting good sleep. And it was just a really tough time. But by the time our daughter was born, we had built up something where I could provide comfortably for my family. And then now, a year and a half later, everything in my agency has 4x'd, 5x'd from that point. And so I guess the moral of the story is like, there's not always going to be perfect linear progress in anything you do. And sometimes it'll take multiple tries and failures in different businesses and different business models. I can't really speak to all the different business models, but the agency model is what worked for me. Everything else was good. Somewhat, I learned skills at the Anytime Fitness job. I learned that I hated working a 9-to-5 job 6 days a week when I was working at the JCPenney warehouse. So I knew that was something, taught me a lesson that I never wanted to do something like that again. When I started my videography business and my t-shirt business, that taught me that business was tough. Not everything was going to come easy, and that I needed to put in the work and actually push forward and not just sit on and rest on my laurels. And then the solar job taught me sales, which then helped me with mortgages, and mortgages taught me marketing and sales. And then that led me into my agency, which is all marketing and sales. So everything was a stepping stone along the way that's helped get me to the point where I'm at. But there were lots of ups and downs. And like I said, it wasn't all linear, just straight up and successful the whole time. And so I just wanted to share this. I mean, a lot of people feel maybe a little bit of pressure from family or friends to go into a specific career path or go to school and go to college and get a traditional education. And that just wasn't the path for me. I always think when I'm on my deathbed, what is the life that I want to have lived? And is it something that I'm going to be proud of and something that I'm going to be happy with and say, I'm really happy that I did this. And when I thought about college, I just thought that wasn't my path. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I feel like I'll be happy doing. And what I want for my life. And so I feel like I'm in a place where I'm doing something that I love. And I wanted to share this with you because you can absolutely do the same thing if you're not already. And I'm not saying it's starting a marketing agency like I do or I teach or help people with, but it can be anything. My brother, when he was in medical school to become a dentist, he always used to say, what if I'm in school for 8 years and then I end up hating my career path? He's like, I have no idea. He's like, sure, I learn about dental and I do a little bit of hands-on practical stuff, but he's like, what if I'm 5 years into my career as a dentist and I hate it and I spent 8 years and I'm locked into this something that I hate? And my other brother, who's a speech language pathologist, is now like really interested in coding, and he really would love to learn how to code and get a job in that and maybe leave being a speech language pathologist. So it's not always you might it might not always be a good idea to go into something that is going to take you, a full 4 years or 8 years or 6 years in college. And, just do what you want to do and do what makes you happy, and do something obviously that'll provide for your family. You need to make ends meet and put food on the table. But there's plenty of options of things that'll make ends meet, put food on the table, that will also make you happy and give you a more freeing and happy life. So I don't really know how to end this, but I wish you all the best and all the success in the world. And yeah, peace.